A Friday evening in Thimphu. In the sleepy capital of this very religious country, Novin and his friends are about to perform a concert. But far from traditional, the band plays thrash metal, a style of music rarely found in Bhutan, underground even. Rockers, but not rebels, these musicians are known here for writing a song with a very unexpected message for a metal band.
This song has a message of happiness, and we believe that the lyrics will catch many people's attention that, we can be happy with the very little we have. We have to be content with what we have and all.
A principle that the group has adopted. Despite the difficulty of finding modern musical instruments and a record label in Bhutan, they managed to shoot a music video of Western standards for their hit track, Happiness.
Who knows, one day if we get a chance to go to Europe or America to play, we'll love to do that. To explain and spread the message of happiness.
This message of happiness does not come from nowhere. It is the official motto of the Bhutanese state. Here the authorities have gone so far as to replace the gross national product by the gross national happiness, an astonishing concept unique in the world. Bhutan, a small country the size of Switzerland with a population of just 800,000, nestled in the Himalayas between the two giants of India and China. Its geographical position has isolated it from the rest of the world for a very long time. Rural, with no major resources apart from hydropower, Bhutan is one of the poorest countries in the world. In order to make people forget this harsh reality, the government has been implementing its own index for measuring development for a few years now, the famous Gross National Happiness. An original concept promoted by the young king, Jigme Wanchuk. In 2008, the king even wrote gross national happiness into the constitution. Emphasis was placed on the preservation of nature and organic farming. Grace is a young entrepreneur. She recently opened an organic restaurant in the capital.
It's more important, if you have a rich health, then you can have a happy life.
The GDH is also the preservation of cultural traditions and sometimes folklore, like this village that stands in the glory of a triumphant phallus.
Per month I sell around 10 to 15 pieces, but sometimes I sell the huge one.
In this very isolated country with its ancestral Buddhist traditions, television and internet only made their appearance in 1999, and mobile phones only started being used on a daily basis around 10 years ago. Pictures of Bhutan are very rare, as to bring a camera into the country, you have to first prove your good intentions. Although Bhutan is gradually opening up to tourism and more generally to Western influence, the presence of traditional culture remains strong.
In front of my parents, I'm very much decent, but in front of my friends, I feel more comfortable to wear whatever I want.
The weight of traditions, but also the weight of state bans. Here, the sale of tobacco is illegal, and those who break it take a big risk.
We have to pay the fine penalty, and they will take our license.
Alcohol is also prohibited 1 day a week.
Hello. Is it possible to have beer? Why?
No selling of alcohol today.
A happiness with limits strictly defined by the state and built on the backs of Indian workers struggling on high-risk building sites. A profoundly Buddhist country, Bhutan has 10,000 temples and monasteries, places of prayer of course, but also for many delinquents, so-called last chance schools.
If we go to an extent of that, it could be prison, maybe a death also, or monastery.
Bhutan, the country of contrasts and contradictions. One wonders whether this gross national happiness is just a decoy to mask the structural poverty of the country. An unusual journey to the supposed kingdom of happiness. Two weeks before Novin's concert in Thimphu, we're going to meet him under very different circumstances. That day at the airport in Paro, the rocker showed us a very different side to himself.
Welcome to Bhutan, Alex.
Oh, thank you.
Nice to see you again.
Okay.
Rocker by night, Novin is a tour guide by day. And like any civil servant in Bhutan, he is required to wear a go, the traditional local costume equivalent to the Scottish kilt.
So we have to follow the program day by day?
Yes,
we will not be able to change it?
No, we can do some changes, but it needs to be informed like 2 days before.
Okay.
So I hope the program goes well.
The welcome is warm, but the tone is set. In Bhutan, it is impossible to travel freely.
Welcome to Bhutan.
1 hour drive to the capital of Thimphu. It is time to understand who is running the country. With a cult of personality that seems to be from another age, there are 4x3 displays of the king and queen at every street corner. Alone or with their son, the royal couple is everywhere and is truly revered by the population. A statue of a living demigod, carefully maintained by the government. One of the last filmed appearances of the king dates back to October 2011. On that day, Jigme presented to the people the future queen, his wife Jetson Pima, a 21-year-old commoner. For the occasion, 50,000 Bhutanese gathered in the hope of being close to the royal couple. If the sovereign wants to be very close to the people, he hardly ever speaks to the press. The brief exchange that follows is one of the only ones he has had with journalists since he came to power.
Are you happy?
Are you married?
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, it's worth trying it yourself.
Is there a honeymoon? Would you go for a honeymoon?
Yes, definitely. But within the country, we're going to travel to all the districts, get to meet the people. And I must thank the people for all their good wishes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
An apparent kindness and closeness that delights his followers. This enthusiasm of the people can also be found in photo shops around Thimphu. Amongst representations of the Buddhas, lamas and other Rinpoche, photos of the glamorous couple are abundant.
To buy a picture from the king. You have different or only this one?
This one?
Oh, this one is beautiful also.
Deities in flesh and blood. Pictures of the couple come in all shapes and sizes.
And many people buy it? Yeah?
Dozens of photos depicting the glory of the royal family, paid for with currency bearing the king's effigy, of course.
45.
45. Okay. Thank you.
Photos of the smiling monarchs mask a much less rosy reality, especially for the press. Here the local media are almost non-existent and no criticism of the government is tolerated. As for foreign journalists like us, there are restrictions. It took us 2 months to get a visa. Our presence is tolerated, but there is no question of filming anything that could harm the country's image. Our activity on site is controlled and tracked. After leaving the capital, we have to stop at a checkpoint. Novin, our rocker guide, must have our visa stamped upon arrival in each major city.
Thank you.
741.
A pre-established program that must be followed to the letter. In Bhutan, improvisation is not allowed. A few kilometers further on, another checkpoint, another stamp.
It's okay? Yeah. No problem?
No. It's for the safety of the guest, actually. It's for the safety of the guest and the people here. They have the record of the vehicles on which route they are, so that if they have to search it, they have the location.
Okay.
A well-practiced explanation. Both supervision and accompaniment come at a cost for the traveller. $250 per day with hotel and meals included. Also included in the price is a $65 tax to finance the education and health of the Bhutanese. During our guided tour, the government planned a stopover in a primary school. Here, happiness is learned from a very young age. The headmistress of the school, Choki Dukpa, strictly applies the GNH concept.
Okay, say good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Gaji beuda luche sem gauma ani kagi lapsu kata me. Kagi lapsu.
Mallup no one gaila.
Oh, te gaji be gaya go.
Chura na chodindila.
Lobda di gajira duko lobda na chagi gami lobda na lu gajira duko. Meto, desi trees, flowers. Gajira be go lapse. Kato to be zoni ki tele gajira be go kagi lab. Okay, meto tonga.
Midola.
Alu che bom jodalu shinda meto de sutunga.
The school forbids picking flowers, but encourages planting seeds, especially for the fruit and vegetables that will end up on the plates of the school children.
Each child has to plant a vegetable and must identify what vegetable they have planted and when did they plant, and they need to observe. People might say we are in the town, we live in the flat, we don't have garden, there is no space. But then this is an example for others that no matter where you live, if there is a place, there is a way.
Pupils also learn not to throw anything away. Everything that can be recycled is collected behind the school and sold to specialized companies.
This is how we are trying to take this message home, asking children to manage their own waste. So this must be an empty beer bottle that they have seen on the way to school. So they pick up that and they deposit here. And each child, if they have waste at home, they can bring and they deposit here.
While this waste will be recycled in India, the money collected is used to buy school supplies and water filters for the school. So is this just a government showcase or an inspiring model? One thing is certain, Bhutan is one of the few developing countries where schooling and healthcare are free for all. Something made possible thanks to wealthy tourists who spend their earnings in Bhutan. The first tourists were not able to visit Bhutan until 1974. Today, just under 300,000 of them are allowed to come and admire the rich local cultural heritage, of which only 50,000 are Westerners. Among the must-see sights is the seated Buddha, enthroned high in the hills of the capital, 59 meters high, and around it dozens of gold-gilded statues. Another attraction popular with tourists, a small village 1 hour from Thimphu. At first glance it seems banal, but it is a must for anyone visiting the country. Welcome to Chimi Lakang, a local speciality, the phallus. Here the phalluses of triumphant men are displayed without hesitation, in all sizes, in all colours, as decorative objects or even as toys. At the origin of this original business, a legend. As it goes, a Tibetan monk came here in the 15th century and thanks to his erection, drove demons out of the village. This is enough to amuse the many tourists who come to the site.
This is great, superb way to educate our child. What is fertility, what is sex, and what is God's grace.
But it is not only cultural and folk tourism that Bhutan wants to develop. During our journey, often on roads of fortune, our guides take us to admire the incredible nature of the country. Lush forests as far as the eye can see, uninhabited mountains and rivers untouched by pollution for hundreds of kilometers. The Bhutanese state is now relying on controlled green tourism. We are in one of the country's 10 national parks that lie on the border with India. The Situp captain is a ranger at the Royal Manas Park. With Shah Kumar, his subordinate, they are the only Bhutanese in uniform that we will meet during our stay. Bhutan has almost no army. Its defence is ensured by its neighbour India. The role of the rangers is to protect the local fauna and flora. A crucial mission. The constitution states that the territory must be covered by at least 60% forest, an objective that Bhutan has exceeded for several years now. As a result, it is now the only country that produces more oxygen than carbon dioxide. In other words, the greenest country on the planet. In this protected environment, you will find an incredible diversity of fauna, hundreds of species of butterflies, water buffalo, antelope, and even endangered species such as elephants or lizards. Today, the rangers are looking for a tiger. Their only tool, cameras, to count the number of felines present in the area.
Just now I'm the tiger, and why I'm acting is because we have to ensure that whole body of tiger is captured. We used to monitor frequently on quarterly or fortnightly, but if the camera is located far away from the camp, then it is very difficult to monitor camp because firstly we are understaffed.
Bhutan is a very poor country, and despite its will to preserve nature as much as possible, the budget it devotes to its protection is simply not enough. There are only 60 rangers, without much means, to watch over this park that is 10 times the size of Paris. The rangers are poorly equipped, but they have valued experience in the field.
This is elephant dung. Since it is elephant habitat, because there are so many abundance of elephants, and normally the elephant tries to damage this camera because they don't like to see this camera capturing their images. They really hate.
Thanks to 50 photographic traps like this one, when the elephants feel like sparing them, the rangers manage to take hundreds of pictures of the animals.
Let me cross-check whether there's any tiger images. Yeah, it's here. See, we are lucky to see the tiger here. See, it's a night capture. Nice one. We have a database for each individual. Since from 2011, we have individual ID. We cross-check the tiger stripes, patterns, and we try to find out the new individuals.
Thanks to these photos and also to the anti-poaching units on the Indian side of the border, the number of tigers in the park has doubled from 10 to 22 in just 6 years. there is truly a wealth of wildlife that Bhutan would like to offer to tourists in the long term by opening its national parks. In the meantime, the country is developing a top-of-the-range tourist offer. In the hills of Thimphu, a luxury hotel has just opened at €1,200 minimum per night, a fortune in a country where the average wage is less than €7 per day. Panoramic terraces, decorations and furniture made with precious wood, suites or villas from 70 to 300 square metres and heated indoor swimming pools. We are far from mass tourism here. The numerous hotel employees are busy all day long, yet guests rarely visit. On this day, only one well-off Russian couple takes advantage of this unique place. We've been expressly asked not to disturb them. Some entrepreneurs have discovered the profit they can make from this tourist heaven. Grace is only 26 years old and already an accomplished entrepreneur. She's also a pioneer in this very conservative society. Despite the obstacles she encountered as a woman, she managed to open her restaurant 2 years ago. A restaurant where everything is organic to meet the demand of a very sensitive local and foreign clientele.
Actually, nowadays people really care about their health. So it's more important. If you have a rich health, then you can have a happy life.
Grace's life has not always been easy, and her journey through the country was somewhat tumultuous. Single mother of 2 children, she was married to a violent man for years. Grace had the courage to divorce him, despite the fact that it is heavily frowned upon in Bhutan. Now she displays her story on the walls of her restaurant. A former tourist guide, 3 years ago she met a rich Singaporean couple who took her under their wing. They paid for her training in Singapore and facilitated her in fulfilling her dream. On her return home, she opened her own restaurant.
So I'm very lucky to meet this guy as a God in my life, let's say like that.
Today, at 26 years of age, she provides for her whole family. The 2 waitresses in her restaurant are her sisters. A success story that she is proud to tell.
To run a business, to handle a kids, to be ahead of the family, it's an example for someone else, for a young entrepreneur, especially for a young generation, where we can show them you can do anything, being a young entrepreneur, being a single mom. So I think I came back to show an example for everyone else.
An inspiring journey, but still a rare one here.
Okay, this is the rice.
Customers are often in awe of her.
You do have other women who have different enterprises in their lives, and we feel that it's very important for the country to promote and help this kind of small enterprises.
For supplies, Grace mainly relies on her mother. She lives a few kilometers from the capital in the mountains. Chering, 60 years old, grows rice, fruit and vegetables and lives in this small traditional house on the hillside. Here, time seems to have stopped in the Middle Ages. Everything is still done by hand and thanks to animal power. Grace regularly comes here for supplies. For her, the lack of machines is not a problem, quite the contrary.
We prefer animals because with the machines, it makes people more lazier. With the animals, we have to move with the animals. So I think we can use the energy in that too.
A lot of energy and a good dose of patience. Unlike machines, oxen are sometimes moody, especially in front of a camera.
Oh, shit.
It's very difficult because you have to know how to like go. They have to listen to you. So you have some technique how to plow the cows and all. So it's better like if you don't know, then it's very dangerous because cow can kill you.
Once ploughed, the land is cultivated on terraces. Small production for such demanding work. Grace and her mother weed these rice cuttings by hand. The price of quality for Grace.
It's all organic because we don't use the chemical fertilizers like that. But since we use only a cow dung, you know, that's why we have like lots of cow over here.
20 years ago, Bhutan was still completely self-sufficient, and there was no television or telephones. At that time, Grace's journey would have been unthinkable. Grace says she is happy, a happiness that she attributes partly to the king.
So I think our king says like we count with the happiness, not with the product. So I think this is also the happiness that what we get from.
A way of life far removed from that of our Western consumer societies. A system without fierce competition where both buyers and sellers always get a good deal. The Bhutanese vision of capitalism.
When it comes to like McDonald's, KFC, I think like it's not that good, you know, like it's not that hygienic. Because I heard something about like KFC, like they inject a chicken, you know, to make it a bigger size. So that it's more effective in our health. So I think that thing is not good for our health.
In Bhutan, 80% of farmers have never known pesticides. Their crops are organic. A production large enough that the country is now almost self-sufficient in fruit and vegetables. However, the standard of living for these farmers is very low. Sharing doesn't receive a retirement pension, and most of their production is for personal consumption, for her survival. Thanks to her daughter's offerings, she can improve her daily struggles.
If I buy in a city, then it's more than that. It will be more expensive. But since she's using all her energy, and it's a love, you know, like that she's giving me a love, you know, with a vegetable full of basket, and I give her money. This is what I earn in a city, money. And what this is she earn in the village, the vegetables. So this is a exchange barter system between mom and a daughter. So I think like I give it like that because I have a responsibility, you know, like being a mom, I have to care about her and all. So this is what we do usually. This is my mom. Thank you.
Helping one another, simplicity, attachment to nature, the very definition of happiness put forward by the authorities in their GNH concept. However, some theorized this theory of happiness long before the Bhutanese government. The monks. Achieving ultimate happiness, nirvana, is what the country's 100,000 or so monks are looking for. In Bhutan, 1 out of every 7 residents retires at the monastery at least once in their life for a few months or even years. A unique situation, as many monasteries around the world are similar to detoxification and rehabilitation centers for delinquents. It's 4:30 in the morning, and the day is already beginning at the Lodrak Kachu Monastery in the northeast of the country. Every morning, one of the monks is responsible for making sure that no one is having a lie-in. A somewhat surprisingly military discipline for these residents.
drugs to sokaro pound give. Then you know some irritating those that drugs bomb below. There must be the Lazani, children, Matsua, Tina, and I'm going to do a shop. And they said that the only digital coach did the Colonel's Atali Lishimjo, the Atali Lishimjo, and
This is the case of Sinji, 28 years old. Having arrived here a little over a year ago, the young man had to quickly get used to the rhythm of the monastery.
Monday to Saturday, we wake up at 4:30. They ring the bell. 4:30 to 5, we have to freshen up. And 5 to 6, there's self-study. We have to study ourselves.
Before studying theology, Sinji preferred girls, alcohol, drugs and street fights.
This represents my family. This me, and this George represents my family members. This I got one. This Mahakala. Okay, Mahakala. The representative of Bhutan.
Mahakala, a deity who is supposed to protect him from bad luck. Sinji is not the only monk who used to lead a delinquent lifestyle. Novin, our rocker guide, shares a similar past. This morning, he visits him to talk about their past. From their lives before, the two young men only kept a few photographs. At that time, Sinji and Novin were spending their days in the streets of the capital with their friends.
2013 long time. I used to smoke weed and all. Me smoking bong.
To pay for his drugs and binge drinking, Sinji would often rob residents in his neighborhood.
So you fight in the street also? Yeah, sometimes it happens. This is my collection. I used to have collection.
Collection of what?
Swords.
Oh.
Then after becoming a monk, it's totally, it's like a new life now. I had a wrong life, you know. I did many bad things. So now becoming monk is kind of a purification now. Because they were all sins, the wrong path I took. And in a one way, it was a good thing because I did, and I have a regret, so I want to change. So because of them, I'm a changed man now.
Novin could have taken the wrong path too.
Yeah, if we go to an extent of that, it could be prison, maybe a death also, or monastery. To become a monk. If someone realizes this, but this is a very, very rare case that someone realizes and really gets committed to become a monk. तर होइन जस्तै थियो जे थियो पहिला पास्ट थियो होइन त्यो पास्टले गर्दाखेरि आज यो मतलब यो लाइफ गुजार्दैछ मङ्कको एन्लाइटनमेन्टको प्रोसेस.
In Bhutan, monasteries are an alternative to prison, but one that involves sacrifice. Sinji is starting his second year here. In his cell, he spends most of his time reading sacred texts, up to 10 hours a day. A life of self-discipline that's far from his past as a delinquent, but which today seems to fulfill him.
Happiness means the peace of mind. You can have nothing and you can still be happy, because everything depends from here. If you're happy innerly, outwardly you are happy, whether you have...
Today, Sinji and the other monks are eagerly anticipating the visit of a high dignitary of Buddhism. Namkai Nyingpo, a Rinpoche, the founder of this monastery. Usually the holy man travels around the world to share his knowledge. His words and his presence here are a rare occurrence.
They've been waiting eagerly for Rinpoche to bless them.
Is it important for you?
Of course it's important.
Why?
It will clarify our body, speech, mind, sins, and get blessed. It's very important.
He's very high-ranking monk?
Of course, he's very high-ranking. In the Nyingma itself, he's one of the highest-ranking lamas.
In Bhutan?
Not in Bhutan, in the Buddhism itself. He's the 7th incarnation of Namkhani Rinpoche. He's already been enlightened.
Prayers, blessings, but also reflection fill the days in the monastery, sometimes in very surprising ways. Here, every week, Sinji and the others compete in a unique oratorical jousting. The more experienced standing monks begin the debates. The objective, to convince each other with substantial arguments. When a monk thinks he has found an unstoppable argument, he slaps his right hand with his left hand. The subject doesn't really matter. The most important thing is the debate itself, all while having fun.
White horse is horse. Is it horse or a white color? They're debating on regarding that topic. They want to prove that whether the horse is white or, or the white is horse.
Another recreational activity for the monks is the weekly outing. Every Sunday, the monastery's residents go out into town, but there is no question of Sinji and his friends succumbing to the temptations of the streets. With the money they collected from the day before, the monks can treat themselves to a meal, which is always vegetarian.
Did you eat meat?
No, we don't. We don't.
No.
Each and every beings they are our parents. There haven't been even single being who haven't been our parents. So in a way, we are eating our parents' meat. So it's a big sin actually. And then the problem is that at the present we cannot remember them being our parents.
And you really believe in reincarnation?
Of course. Everybody is reincarnated. Even you could be my father, mother.
What for you the best thing to be reincarnated for the next life?
Again, as a monk, if it's possible.
In Bhutan?
Yeah. In a country, doesn't matter, but in Bhutan, yes.
So the monastery is not a jail?
No, it's actually a paradise. It's in Zangtuperi we say, right? Zangtuperi. It's Zangtuperi. Just because we are full of sins, we're seeing these places as normal places, but actually it's Zangtuperi.
On the way back to the monastery, Sinji accompanies Novin, our guide. The reunion of the two former thugs is over, and they'll both return to their everyday lives. Today, Sinji seems to have found happiness, but in order to become an accomplished monk, his training will last another 9 years. Return to Thimphu. We meet again with entrepreneur Grace. She lives in a small 3-room apartment with her 2 children and 2 sisters. And also her brother. Unemployed, he tattoos his friends to make some money.
Okay. Is it urgent? Yes. Right now, I'm just, having to try to adjust with something which I have here. So I'm using my sister's chest, and then she had been scolding me. That's why I, pick up some plastic belonging to someone neighbors.
Okay, after finishing your tattoo, you can look after the kids. We'll be going out and we'll come after the...
Okay.
After work, when we are really tired, so in a month we used to go out with the friends and with the siblings that we can enjoy a moment. So in a not exactly party, but it's a place where we can relax and enjoy some music. Bye, Babu.
Bye. Take care.
Yeah, okay. Bye.
This evening, Grace takes her 2 sisters with her. As the head of the company and head of the family, Grace is one of the few car owners in Bhutan, a privileged one.
So ladies, let's have fun tonight.
Yes.
Oh, we are very thankful for going out tonight.
Don't worry.
Because we are very stressed. So many customers today, very tired. Let's shake it off. Only one beer. One beer each.
Okay, one beer is enough.
Yeah.
I can afford that.
Drinking alcohol, having fun with the girls, an obvious choice in the West, but here the weight of culture still pervades.
We can't compare ourselves with the Western life. So if you go with a man, then it's completely different, where we can't enjoy openly. So with the girlfriends, we can talk, we can do whatever we want, we can laugh, and even we can dance. You know, we don't feel that hesitations. In our country, for like physical relations, sex and all, I think like this is a little bit weird, because we are not that open to this thing. So I'm gonna park somewhere else here.
Bhutan only has a handful of bars where young people can meet. Grace's favourite is the Thimphu Club, a hub for the country's affluent youth. Here they let loose to pop and rap beats, far from the local cultural straitjacket.
My country, Bhutan, I think like they're preserving the culture what we have right now. So this is only the nightclub where people can come and enjoy. But after this place, it's nothing like that. We have to go back to the normal life, where we have to like respect the culture, respect the thing what we have bond between like gender parts, you know.
In this free space, men and especially women can enjoy themselves without fearing the judgment of a society that is still very conservative.
I think like most of the people over here, they're divorced. I think because when I can see and when they are talking towards me, then like they talk about such things, you know, like. From there, I can find like people are looking for a peace and like they want to have some enjoyment in their life. They want to divert what happened at the back. So this is one important thing where people can come and forget everything and like enjoy at the moment.
The moment everyone here has been waiting for, the highlight of the evening, is Dachin Selden, Bhutan's star dancer and performer. The only transgender person in the country. Grace is her biggest fan. Between two dance numbers, she and her sisters join Dachin in the bathroom.
Yes, I met my friends around.
Yeah, we are the old friends.
Yeah.
Dachin supported Grace while she was being abused by her ex-husband. Two different paths, but the same fight against prejudices.
She's beautiful and she's very like encouragement to the young generations, because most of the young generation, they face like lots of problems in their life. Their parents disagrees and their friends disagrees to be in the wrong body. But when it comes to her, she encourages everyone else to be like whatever they want to be.
I'm proud to be what I am today. Of course, there's lots of difficulties. Because like wherever you face always discriminations and stigma. Of course, that is obvious. And it doesn't mean that people are so rude. Like when it comes, as she already mentioned, that it's a tight society. So we have lack of information, lack of knowledge.
Bhutanese society and laws are changing. Last June, the government ended the criminalization of homosexuality. However, shocking restrictions still exist. In this club, the young people smoke and drink alcohol. In the public space, it's another story. To combat the high level of alcoholism in the country, 20 years ago, the government banned by decree the sale of alcohol once a week. The Bhutanese quickly gave a name to this day of sobriety, the Dry Day.
Hello. Is it possible to have beer? Why?
It's dry day. No selling of alcohol today.
There is no question of breaking the law.
Hello. Beer?
Today's dry day.
This alcohol-free day was set by the authorities to be on Tuesday without anyone really knowing why.
Where I can buy beer?
Today is Tuesday, no? It's dry day. Dry day.
What is dry day?
No alcohol allowed.
In all the country?
Yeah.
Why?
It's like that, rule itself.
Another ban, smoking in public areas. In 2004, Bhutan was the first country in the world to legislate on this issue. There are no smokers on the street. However, even though the government also bans the sale of cigarettes throughout the country, many small shopkeepers take the risk of selling cigarettes behind closed doors.
If you get caught by police, what's gonna happen?
We have to pay the fine penalty. And they'll take our licenses.
So you close the shop?
Yeah.
So it's dangerous?
Yeah, it's very dangerous. It's very risky.
And many people do like this in Bhutan?
Yes.
One can also find hypocrisy in the food bans. This is particularly obvious in the large markets of Thimphu. Here, 3 times a week, the small producers of the surrounding area sell their spices, fruit and vegetables, organic of course. You can also buy meat, lots of meat. Yet officially, it is strictly forbidden to kill animals in Bhutan.
India, India go?
यहाँ भुटानमा चाहिँ मार्नु पाउँदैन नि
पाउँदैन त्यो त मार्दैन नि उतै इन्डियादेखि मारेर आउँछ
Their southern neighbour supplies meat and also supplies the country with petrol and cheap labour. In this expanding capital city, the majority of new construction is being carried out by Indian workers. Here, almost everything is handmade, and the notions of safety are all relative. But the most difficult building sites are not in the city. At an altitude of almost 3,000 metres, a colossal project is cutting into the mountainscape. In this very mountainous country, it is impossible to build railways. Since 1961, thousands of Indian workers have been coming every year to work on this road that crosses the country from east to west. Despite the magnitude of the task and its dangers, they wear no protective clothing, let alone helmets. They work with what little the company provides. Arjun is 18 years old, and this is the first time he has been on the site. Noxious tar vapours, rarefied high-altitude air, lack of protection and no insurance in case of an accident. Yet there is no shortage of candidates. "10 hours a day, 6 days a week. The workers come here to work often 2 months in a row. We were able to film a typical day on the site. Every morning in their makeshift camp, the workers get up at 7 a.m.
सरप्राइज देने के लिए आए हम लोग
हाँ बोलो ना 25 आदमी सोता है वो कहाँ क्या तकलीफ होगा क्या चीज का ये घर है घर में सोना है सबको सुबह सोकर उठकर मुंह कान धो के काम धंधा पर अपना अपना ड्यूटी पे जाना है क्या सब तकलीफ होगा कुछ नहीं
The workers sleep fully dressed. In the high mountains, without heating, the temperature in the camp regularly drops below zero. And another difficulty for Arjun, he, like all the others, lives on the plains the rest of the year.
ये हम लोग का गुरु है।
ऐसा जगह नहीं देखा है, ये बहुत इधर मुश्किल है, इधर तो डरनाक है, इधर बहुत खाई है, हर तरफ खाई है, डेंजरस जगह है, बर्फ का बारिश होता है।
यहाँ पे 2 महीने हो गए।
हाँ 2 महीने हो गए, 2 महीने में राइट।
अब 10 दिन और
10 दिन और है, सिर्फ ये ढलाई और उधर का ढलाई करने से हम लोग कहाँ जाए।
Among the workers, some count the days more than others. Simbad is 28 years old. This is the 3rd year he has been on the site. He's in charge of the tar cans.
बहुत डेंजरस है, बैठ भी नहीं है, ठीक है ना, अलखतरा ये जो है ना गल जाता है वहाँ पे मतलब गल जाता है, ठीक है। खतरा है इसमें, थोड़ा सा संयम से करना पड़ता है, थोड़ा होशियारी से, ठीक है। खतरा तो बहुत है, ऐसा है कि मतलब डेक पूरा एकदम जाएगा तो डेक।
Despite the risks, Simbad cannot stop. This work allows him to support his wife and 2 children for 6 months of the year.
बस जब तक बॉडी में दम है करेंगे।
National happiness at the price of Indian sweat. Happiness that also has an ecological cost, but not for Bhutan.
ये फिर रिटर्न इंडिया जाता है, फिर इंडिया पैकिंग होता है नया होके। नहीं हाँ, ये जो है ना फिर पैक करके बना के फिर गाड़ी में लोड करके फिर इंडिया भेजते हैं।
The gross national happiness, definitely a multifaceted concept. A pillar of society that the Bhutanese state continues to promote on an international level, as with the construction of this conference centre specially dedicated to happiness. At a time when the country is opening up to the world between crude propaganda and economic, social and environmental progress, Bhutan will have to make its choice.